Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra. Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Jaya Sudarshana. Jagannath Swami Nayana Pathagami Nana Pathagami Bhavatume. Jaya Radha Madhav Radha Madhav Radhe Shri Govinda Gopinath Madan Radhe Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya 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 Gurudev 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 Gurudev. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Sripad 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 Sripad. पतित पावन जय श्रील गुरुदेव, अधम तारण जय श्रील गुरुदेव. जय जय गुरुदेव 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 गुरुदेव. ओम ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुः श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च. श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजन सहितं कृष्ण चैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्ण पादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च. हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तुते. तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिय. वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसादि गौर भक्तवृंद. हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण प्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत भक्ति स्वरूप दामोदर स्वामी नामने नमः. सद्भक्तमनाय मणिपुर भावये च प्रभुपादल सद्वाणी प्रचारयते. नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी नामने. नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसादि गौर भक्तवृंद. हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. श्रीमद् भागवतम 6th canto 16th chapter श्लोक नंबर 20. आत्मनन्दानुभूतैव आत्मानन्दानुभूतैव
न्यस्तशक्तिर्मये
नमः.
न्यस्तशक्तिर्मये नमः.
ऋषिकेशाय महते
ऋषिकेशाय महते
नमस्ते अनन्तमूर्तये.
नमस्ते अनन्तमूर्तये.
Atma Ananda of yours personal bliss. Anubhutya, by perception. Eva, certainly. Nesta, given up. Sakti, Sakti Urmay, the waves of material nature. Namaha, respectful obeisances. Rishikeshaya, unto the supreme controller of the senses. Mahate, unto the supreme. Namaha, respectful obeisances. Te, unto you. Ananda, unlimited. Murtae, whose expansions. Shravan Prabhu, can you please read translation and purport?
Translation and purport by the Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Perceiving your personal bliss, you are always transcendental to the waves of material nature. Therefore, my Lord, I offer my respectable obeisances unto you. You are the supreme controller of the senses, and your expansions of form are unlimited. You are the greatest, and therefore I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. This verse analytically differentiates the living entity from the Supreme Lord. The form of the Lord and the form of the conditioned soul are different because the Lord is always blissful, whereas the conditioned soul is always under the threefold miseries of the material world. The Supreme Lord is Satchit Ananda Vigraha. He derives Ananda, bliss, from his own self. The Lord's body is transcendental, spiritual, but because the conditioned soul has a material body, he has many bodily and mental troubles. The conditioned soul is always perturbed by attachment and detachment, whereas the Supreme Lord is always free from such dualities. The Lord is the supreme master of all the senses, whereas the conditioned soul is controlled by the senses. The Lord is the greatest, whereas the living entity is the smallest. The living entity is conditioned by the waves of material nature, but the Supreme Lord is transcendental to all actions and reactions. The expansions of the Supreme Lord's body are innumerable. Advaitam, Achutam, Anadim, Anantarupam. But the conditioned soul is limited to only one form. From history, we learn that a conditioned soul by mystic power can sometimes expand into 8 forms, but the Lord's bodily expansions are unlimited. This means that the bodies of Supreme Personality of Godhead have no beginning and no end, unlike the bodies of the living entities.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Now, your voice is very low. If you could use headset or you can be near to the mic if possible.
Am I better now? Prabhuji, am I audible?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhu. So here, let me off one. In this verse, Narada Muni, okay. So Chitraketu is being blessed by the mercy of Supreme Personality of Godhead to understand that this material world
is full of trouble, and there are all the effort to maintain a relationship and to enjoy pleasure to the material relationship are not a permanent solutions, and also mixed with lots of suffering in it. Actually, you can see there are three kind of people mainly in this world try their various effort to enjoy the pleasure. Scripture divide them into three categories. One are called who are Veda Vadarataha Partha, who are following the principles or the process explained in Karma Kanda to enjoy material pleasure in the three world, in this earth itself, and in heavenly planet or higherly planets, or even lower planets also. So the kind of sense enjoyment that were explained in the Karma Kanda sections of Veda are so much, attractive to them that their mind never goes beyond that. So they are called in Bhagavad Gita as Veda Vadarata Partha. They simply follow due to their attractions, and they do not understand the purpose of the Vedanta. Purpose of all this Vedic process, purpose of this Karma Kanda is hidden to them. They are called karmis. However, some of the people among these karmis elevate themselves to a higher platform by realizing that these pleasures are limited, temporary, and has the consequences of sufferings, miseries. So those people, they elevate themselves to the stage of jnanis, who try to conquer the urges of senses. Karmis are godasa. They are trying to become the servant of senses. Jnanis are trying to become the master of the senses. One is trying to become Godas, other is trying to become Goswami. So they subdue the senses. Though the process of Jnanis may be sometimes very difficult, they may not reach the Goswami stage so quickly. Even it might take millions of years to reach that stage. But Jnanis somehow understand that Dukhalaya asaswatam. This material world, this material body is temporary. In the incessant flow of time, we'll get many bodies and we'll have to end that bodies. All that bodies are very short durations. Sometimes it appears that human form of life is for 100 years or 50 years or even 5-10 years. But this human form of life should be cultivated for solving the biggest problem of life. That is the repeated continuations of birth, death, old age and diseases. However, if one understand that this repetition is the biggest problem, his focus should completely remain on this problem. His focus should not be diverted in many branches. Such people are called Gyanis. Their focus is now shifted to solve the single problem: repeated birth, death, old age, and diseases. That's how they try to subdue the senses. They try to become the master of the senses, not the slave of the senses. Whenever senses demand something, they do not fulfill it. They try to avoid that or restrain from that, maybe forcefully initially. Above them, out of such Gyanis, some come to the stage by conquering the senses. They become yogis. They called yogis. Yogi could constantly meditate on Supreme Personality of Godhead's Paramatma feature. But such yogi or Jnani or Karmi, if they are not devotees, though they are also cultivating the transcendental positions, but they do not attain Brahma Bhuyaya or Brahma Bhuta state. That is confirmed in Bhagavatam 14.26. Mam cha yo abhyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatitan Brahma Bhuyaya kalpate. One who engages in full devotional service, who does not fall down in any circumstance, at once transcends the modes of eternity, which is called the real positions of a living entity, Brahma Bhuta Avastha. In that state, a pure devotee enjoys the spiritual pleasure, Ananda, the pleasure, Sat Chit Ananda, which is its Swarupa. It is a fragmental portion of the supreme bliss. The complete bliss is Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the fragmental portion of that is the living entity. It will remain blissful when it has an association with Supreme Personality of God. That state is explained as Aja Navangri Saroja. Abja Navangri Saroja. When a bumblebee enters the opening of a lotus flower and drinks its honey, lotus flower's petals fully protect the bees from sunshine and other external influence. So those fortunate spirit souls who enjoys the bliss of Supreme Personality of Godhead from the lotus petal, like a lotus petal, when you try to enjoy the nectars from the lotus feet of Supreme Personality of Godhead, Supreme Personality of Godhead completely protect him from all such material dangers. Otherwise, he has miseries all around, in every step. Padam padam yad vipadam natesa. Srimad Bhagavatam 10.14.58 says that. Samasrita ye pada pallava plavam mahat padam punya yaso murarehe bhavam budhirvassa padam param padam 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 yat vipadam natesam. So those devotees who are fortunate enough to take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, for him everything becomes easy. For him, crossing this great oceans of material existence is become so small, which is referred here as Vatsa Padam. Vatsa means calf. Padam, the footprint of a calf. It is so small. The gigantic ocean can become small as the footprint of calf. Vatsa Padam. That is not well understood by many karmi, jnani, and yogis, and so they suffer here and there. Travel all around the three world. Do not get this conclusive statement, or do not realize this conclusive statement that the only principles of solving every problem is Abjanabhangri Saroj, the lotus feet of Supreme Personality of God, or Sri Guru. The lotus feet of Sri Guru, the service to the lotus feet of Sri Guru even higher than the service to the lotus feet of Sri Krishna. Why? Because Lord says that only a pure devotee knows how to please me. So if somebody please me through him, then I become more pleased. Tadyanam aradhanam. Those who worships the devotees of Vishnu, or those who take shelter of the devotees of Vishnu, they are the most fortunate. So they can very easily cross this. Here it is mentioned that the taranga, Vishaya taranga, the waves of material attachment. Taranga is the wave. You see in the ocean there are waves, and you see the pond's water is at rest. So in these three modes of material nature, always there are some forms of waves. So these lines of forces constitute Sattva, Raja, Guna, Sattva, Raja and Tamaguna, which constitute a wave. And this wave, our existence queries for happiness. However, this wave constitutes of the principles of minute happiness and major miseries. You draw a point, some point you might find in the graph that there is more quantum of happiness appears to be. In some other, you find the quantum of suffering is more. Not to speak of happiness or suffering, there is much bewilderment, or the bondage, the attachment. This is called Vishaya Taranga, which forgotten our eternal relationship with Lord. If we go by the waves of Vishaya, or the three modes of material nature, should I have given you the graph to give a better understanding? But understand, this is like a graph. So there is a point in every portion of the graph in the dimension of time. Time and space, we are seated, and in this time and space, we are running through this curve of waves, material wave, Vishaya Taranga. That's why we suffer. But fortunate as those who take shelter of the lotus feet of Sri Guru. महाप्रभु के तननोत्य गीत बदित्रमादन मनो सरसेन रोमांचकंपाश्रुतरंग भाजो वंदे गुरुश्री चरणारविंदम रोमांचकंपाश्रुतरंग भाजो. Here also the word taranga is mentioned. And what is that taranga? Romancha Kompasru. Romancha. The feeling of ecstasy. And Kampa Asru. Body trembles with the spiritual bliss. An incessant flow of tears flows from the ears. Flows from the eyes. So these three things, there are 8 kinds of symptoms. These 3 things are more explained and easily exhibited when someone completely surrender and continuously engage in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead by or through the order of spiritual master. Mahaprabhu Kirtana Nutya Gita. What he does? He glorifies Supreme Personality of God. Mahaprabhu Kirtana. What is Kirtana? Usually we explain Kirtana. Glorification. Jad Uttama Sloka Gunanuvarnanam. In Srimad Bhagavatam 1.5.21, right? That idam ipamsa sishtasya shuktasya cha buddhi dattayo abhichut artha kabibhi nirputa jad uttama sloka gunanuvarnanam. Glorification is that our every effort to glorify Supreme Personality of God. So be it Kirtan, be it scientific Sankirtan, be it book distribution or Bruhat Mridanga Sankirtan. All these are Kirtan. So Mahaprabhu Kirtana. Nutya Gita Baditra Madyan Manosa Rasena. That's how the mind and body get satisfied with Kirtana, Nutya and Gita. Gita is the glorification through chanting or through prayers or singing the bhajans of Bhaktivedanta Thakur or explaining the quantum mechanics to the audience to bring out the conclusion that quantum cannot explain Supreme Personality of Godhead. Consciousness is beyond the purview of our quantum study because its existence is non-material. Something we cannot measure non-material objects through material instruments. Our effort to measure through material instrument is not possible. So let's instead try to experience it. So experimental knowledge will not be able to capture the conscious state of living being. So how it can capture the conscious state of Supreme Personality of Godhead? So in order to capture the conscious state and positions of living entity, in order to understand the material instruments, the scientific instrument, whatever we have, is not sufficient enough. Is very limited. We can understand only some fragmental portion of material duality, but not to even full extent of material duality. What to speak of spiritual realm? So this domain of spiritual realm can only be understood through experience, not experiment, experient. So there is a web of spiritual bliss which is mentioned here. Romancha Kampasru Taranga Bhajo. And in this wave of happiness, which is derived from the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is ever blissful. Now, in this wave, the three lines of force, Sattva, Raja, and Tama, when completely trapped by Shuddha Bhakti or Shuddha Sattva, then they given up their existence, or they merge into the existence of Shuddha Sattva. So Shuddha Sattva grabs Sattva, Raja, and Tama and transform it. So Utpullita Tanu Mana. Even this guna get a transformation. So not only one enjoys spiritual bliss, he also enjoys the material bodily happiness. Sometimes it appears that this bodily troubles are surrounding the devotees because of the superposition with Shuddha Sattva or pure devotion to Supreme Personality of Godhead. It ignores the adversary effects of Sattva, Raja, and Tama. That's why a devotee can tolerate anything and can remain happiness in all circumstances. He might be blasphemed by many people, or he might be glorified by all the people. It doesn't make a difference to him. He might get all this bodily comfort, or he is deprived of all bodily necessity. Yet his happiness remains the same. So this superposition or the conceit of the three modes of material nature into the Shuddha Sattva or pure devotion is the essential of the whole world. So such is the expectations that Chitraketu understand that temporary and is full of miseries. So searching any happiness in this world through material relationship is completely not a right path. May not be today, maybe in some point of time. Everyone has to understand that there is no happiness in this path. But unfortunately, entity, even after understanding, he tries another path. Okay, this is not successful. Let me try something else. Let me try something else. This way, his effort is not put into the Shuddha Sattva or the topmost lines of force. Rather, he remains in three modes of matter. So, ordered or instructed Arjuna that Nistrai Guna Bhavarjuna. Go beyond these three modes of mental nature. So Veda has explained many, rituals to get happiness. So a devotee should not be disturbed by such rituals or such process of, taking happiness from here and there. Anything that do not pleases to Lord, anything that do not mean to please Supreme Personality Godhead, you need not to take it off. And anything that pleases Supreme Personality of Godhead may appear to be very material, still we can take it off. So during preaching activity, a pure devotee may have to come down to a state of Madhyama Adhikari. Pure devotee might have to travel in airplanes, might have to live in air-conditioned room to do seminar, conferences, or preaching activities. For preaching purpose, for pleasure of Sri Guru and Krishna, we can take up any positions. Because of superpositions with Shuddha Sattva, these three modes of material nature will have no impact. That has to be understood. If one just imitates such positions, then he will not elevate himself to this state. Rather, he will be deluded and fall in trap of the senses again. A single sense can delude him again to fall in trap of material happiness. So it is essential that a conditioned living entity always try to take shelter of Sri Guru and Krishna by understanding that only Lord, only and only Lord's lotus feet is the source of happiness. Nothing else and nothing else. That's how a conditioned soul can come out of this metal plane. Here it is explained that through mystic perfections, through the progress of yogic perfections, one may get up to the bodies of 9 bodies, means including himself, 8 other body he can create. So Kardama Muni also exhibited that. In many other instances, we see that a living entity can also expand up to 8 another bodies. But these are metal bodies. However, Lord, who is Advaitam, Achyutam, Anadim, Anantarupam, Lord has unlimited forms, innumerable forms, and all are spiritual. All are same and non-different from Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this transcendental realization, when become mature in a devotee, then he only try to release the pleasure which is derived from the lotus feet of the Lord. All other efforts will be baffled and will never get the purpose of human form of life. Thank you, everyone. All the best. Any questions?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you for this wonderful class.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
If anyone is having any question regarding today's class, they can raise the hand and ask His Grace, Paramananda Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Maharaj. Dandot Pranam, Maharaj. Govinda Maharaj ji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Dandot Maharaj.
So I have
All glory to Swasi.
very wonderful. Your class is also with so much scientific presentation, and because I'm not a student of science, only of Bhagavad science. So many things are wonderful. I'm learning. But one thing in the beginning, you defined that karmis, correct? So
Yes.
karmis are also bona fide. And is there difference between karmi and dharmi, or they are one and the same?
Yes, Maharaj. There are many levels of karmi. So here what I referred is, karma candies. They are called karmis. But this karmi, dharmi, all these people, right? If they are not worshipping Supreme Personality of Godhead, the purpose of the Veda is to please Supreme Personality of Godhead, which is forgotten by the actor or the karmi, then he is fall in trap of three modes of material nature. There is no scope. But however, someone when dedicate that or do these things for the pleasure of the Lord or by the instruction of the Lord, he will no more be called a karmi. So he will be called as a karma yogi. If somebody is interested in following the religious merits through his karma, or if somebody is willing to define his karma through a religious merits without being interested in pleasing Supreme Personality of Godhead, he will be also called as karmi, even though he is a great follower of religion. Veda Vadarataha. So they are just like a repeater of Veda. They utilizes Veda for explaining them their merit of religiosity, which does not please Supreme Personality of Godhead, because they do not understand the purpose of the religiosity. The examples are the three people in Mahabharata: Karna, Drona, and Bhismadev. Latter point, Bhismadev became pure devotee. But before he got the realization from Krishna directly, he was also under the trap of the pseudo religiosity, which was not pleasing to Supreme Personality of Godhead. None of the religiosity which cultivates a greater scope of enlightenment to the world will never be a religiosity. That dharma which do greater enlightenment to the society or bring greater happiness or saves many people from the suffering should be a religiosity. Now Bhisma's dharma had become a suffering, had become a shelter to irreligiosity. Then how it becomes religiosity? And Lord also confirms that it is not that you have to abide by the laws or the or the parampara. Parampara means what you say, what is being established through a long time by practice, unchanged. So in the flow of incessant time, this can change based on the sthana, kala, and patra. This has to also put on the focus of the objective or the purpose of the religiosity. It should not be just the repetitions of religion. That is called Vedavatarat. Similar thing happened to Drona and Karna also. That's why it is important that one must analyze it. Is it pleasing to Supreme Personality of God? So when one goes on to this hierarchy, is it pleasing to Supreme Personality of Godhead? Then it will be very clearly understood. If it is pleasing Supreme Personality of Godhead, it is pleasing to all society, it is pleasing to my family, and it is also pleasing to me. If one goes in a reverse order, looking, is it pleasing to me? Then he will look, is it pleasing to my family? Then he will look, is it Is it also pleasing to society? Then he will look, is it also pleasing to Lord? Then he will fall in the trap of Vedavadarata. We will delude it. So the chronology of inquiring the activities, purpose is first querying whether it is pleasing to Supreme Personality of God. If the answer is yes, automatically it fulfills all others. So that's how I try to analyze your question. You have the better answer. Please explain that.
Wonderful. You covered everything, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Yes, thank you, Prabhuji, and thank you, Maharaji. Anyone else is having any question?
Any comment? Brajpati Maharaj with us. Maharaj, any comment? Any comment by any Maharaj, Govind Maharaj, Nilambar Maharaj, Vishal Maharaj, any Prabhujis? Have 10 more minutes. Govind Maharaj, do you have any comment?
Hare Krishna.
Dandot Pranam Maharaj.
Dandot Prabhuji. So, thank you for nice class and using the headset. Headset से बहुत clear लगता है. तो आपका लोटस का एग्जाम्पल बहुत अच्छा लगा है कि
Yes, Maharaj.
while bumblebee is drinking the honey,
Yes.
the lotus protects it, no?
Yeah.
So isn't it very wonderful that somebody is coming to take your honey and you are protecting? Right? Similar, मतलब जितना प्रेम होने से वो प्रोटेक्ट करेगी हनी देते हुए भी, है ना? जनरली हम प्रोटेक्ट करते हैं जो हमको हनी देते हैं. Try to protect, defend. हमको जो हनी मधु देते हैं उसी को प्रोटेक्ट करने के लिए कोशिश करते हैं. तो इसी की वजह से हम मैटर से बाहर नहीं आ पाते.
Yes, Maharaj.
Another similar बहुत affectionate वाला एक्ट जो है, जैसे बच्चा जो है माँ का दूध पीते हैं और माँ जो है बहुत प्रोटेक्ट करती है उनको. तो मतलब both are similar.
Yes.
So Lord he very lovingly allows his devotee to relish his lotus feet, his lotus eyes, his lotus hands by taking darshan, and his lotus pastimes, his lotus everything, his lotus devotees, Bhakta Brunda. So the Vaishnavas are also expansion of the Lord. So how we can be bumblebee? what is it in the bumblebee that the lotus allows like that? And what qualifies us to be a humble bee? Not humble bee, bumblebee. I think the answer is
Bumblebee.
there. We have to become
Yeah.
humble bee to become bumblebee.
Yes.
So please tell what makes us, what qualifies us as a bumblebee, so that we are eager to drink the honey from the lotus. All lotus, no, like Kunti Mataji prays. Namo Pankaja,
Navaya.
Navaya, Namo Pankaja,
Pankaja Malini.
Malne, Namo Pankaja, Netraya, Namaste, Pankajangre.
Netraya. Pankaja Angre.
तो भगवान सब पंकज 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 लोटस 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 ही चलता रहता. तो how will we qualify to become a bumblebee?
Bumblebee, humblebee. All we can become. This process is, very well explained in Srimad Bhagavatam. To take shelters of Navada Bhakti, to take shelter of the regulative devotional services, and 12th chapter, Lord explains to Arjuna, if you are not able to do, then try other. So a progressive step has been given there also. So depending upon our situations, we try to elevate ourselves to the path of bhakti. However, all this need the blessings of a Mahat Pada Rajabhisheka, the great pure devotee, when blesses us and engages us in the service. This is becoming very simple. It's confirmed in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 7.129. कभू ना बढ़िवे तुम्हारा विषय तरंग पुनरपि थानी पावे मोर संग. A sincere devotee who engages in the service of Guru, Sri Guru and Gauranga, Sri Guru and Gauranga, by preaching his transcendental message all over the world, will never be affected by Vishaya Taranga or material influences. This is the translation from Sri Prabhupada. The sincere devotees who engages in the service of Guru and Gauranga by preaching is called all over the world, will never be affected by Vishaya Taranga or material influences. And contrary, he will take shelter to the Pankaja Angrai, the lotus feet of Supreme Personality of Godhead. So our entire Krishna consciousness movement, the following of regulative principles and pleasing Supreme Personality of Godhead, pleasing spiritual master, following regulative principles, all are pointing to this very purpose of pleasing Supreme Personality of Godhead. All are, increasing our love for Godhead, or the or subduing Vishaya Taranga and elevating towards Romanchakam Pasur Taranga Bhad. So if all this process of bhakti is not supported or not stamped or authorized by a pure devotee who is Sri Guru, Siksha Guru or Diksha Guru. Even Siksha Guru also has to be stamped through Diksha Guru. So the initiator Guru expectations, word, his instructions are non-different from the instructions or expectations of Sri Lotus feet of Sri Krishna. That's if you want to get this continuous nectar of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, then we must completely rather engage in serving Supreme Personality of Godhead's pure devotee who is Sri Guru. That is what I understand. I think this is a bigger subject matter. You can please explain. Maharaj Ji,
No, Prabhuji,
Rajbhati Maharaj, yeah.
I don't have explanation. That's why I'm asking. Your grace. For Jagannath grace. Lord Jagannath grace.
Yes, Maharaj, you have
Thank you.
also the answer.
Thank you for your wonderful answer.
Govinda Maharaj, you want to explain something more on this?
Everything wonderful, Prabhu. Very nice. The bumblebee, humblebee.
Hmm.
Yeah, and you gave wonderful reference of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Yes, that humble means becoming servant of the servant. It's very fancy to think, oh, I will be a servant of God. I will be servant of the Supremo. But, to become servant of the servant, that is the way to become the bumblebee. Because a servant of Krishna, he has it, correct?
Yeah.
He has tasted it. So one who has tasted it, he can give us. Rather than insisting that Krishna directly give me. That is the way, that is the process. Yeah, means without acknowledging someone more blessed than me, we will be stuck here for eternity. This is a secret of success of Bhagavad Dharma. Rather than trying to be or to becoming better than others, our focus has to be to acknowledge, to see who is more blessed, and really, if you become subservient to that person, then naturally Krishna becomes definitely pleased, rather than wondering, oh, I will try to please Krishna this way or that way. But that is speculation. But this is the surest way. We have to identify someone who has pleased Krishna, one who is fully blessed. So this secret we address every time, but this is a fact actually. Means to identify someone fully blessed, most blessed. What else one needs? Just devote to him, just dedicate one's life in the thought, in the words, in action, everything. That is realizing Krishna in Sri Guru. And that thing understood earlier, the better. Because that stigma, that blockage, that impasse, you have to get over. And that's why the position and the role of Sri Guru in one's life in this Bhagavad Dharma is the only critical thing. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj. Wonderful. Thank you all for supporting and joining in releasing Bhagavatam today. So can we conclude now, Sarvan Prabhu?
Yes.
Okay. जय ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय गुरु महाराज ऋषिपाद की समवेत समस्त महाराज वृंद की जय. All glories to all assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. Jai Guru Premanande. Hari Hari Bol.
Sakrad Paramanand Prabhu ki jai. Thank you Anandal for joining. See you all.
Guru Maharaj ki jai.
Hare Krishna.